Well, hello and welcome everyone. Thank you for joining me today for the webinar that's all about blogging for accountants and advisors with the objective of generating leads and positioning you as an authority in your field of expertise. We'll drill into what that means today as we go. So first, a little bit of context for you if you're not familiar with me or with Practice Paradox. My name's Michael Carter. Most people call me MC. I founded Practice Paradox in 2010 after also co-founding Business Fitness back in 2001. So Business Fitness are the people behind the good, the bad, and the ugly of the accounting profession, and also How Now, document management, work papers, and the like. Great bunch of people there. I'm no longer part of Business Fitness, but still good friends with them. So the reason we founded Paradox was we saw a lot of people were talking about marketing in a very superficial way. No one was specializing in it. And it was also the time in 2010 where social media, blogging, and the whole content-driven marketing space was very, very new. And most people had not seen any application for it for professional advisory firms, but we were joining the dots and could see where things were headed. So we're not general practice management consultants at all. Let's clear that right up. There's lots of coaches and consultants out there that will teach you about how to run your practice in general. We're all about marketing. So that's your strategy, that's your positioning, that's generating, converting leads. We're not about workflow, efficiency, HR, or any of that. So we're super focused in what it is that we do. And we were the first to advise people in this area around content-driven marketing, thought leadership. It's almost become a cliche these days. So many people have jumped on that bandwagon and talking about it. But specifically, of course, today we're talking about blogging. Social media is not the focus of today. We'll get some mentions because they work together very nicely. We do separate events and have separate services around social media. Some of the really exciting areas of marketing at the moment are marketing automation, which allows you to achieve a lot more with a lot less labor, just like any area of automation. So why this topic today? In all of the benchmarking studies, such as Business Fitness's Good, Bad, Ugly, firms keep citing growth as one of their top challenges, yet they're not achieving it by and large. And there are a lot of reasons for that. There are a lot of competitive pressures. There's a lot of margin squeeze and price pressure on the compliance and traditional end of the spectrum of the services that you provide. But most firms want to do more on the value add, but really it's just not happening. And let's just share a brief model with you as to why we see it's not happening. Now, I'm going to summarize some of the statistics around them. So in the surveys, I also have seen surveys done in the US and out of New Zealand that the numbers stack up fairly similarly. When asked the question, do you want to provide more future-focused value-add services to your clients, so the non-compliant side of things, 9 out of 10 state that they want to. But only 1 out of 10 actually achieves it. So 8 out of those 9 are basically failing. And the reason we call it a value-add chasm and not a value-add canyon is that it's not a huge gulf. It is not difficult in our eyes to bridge that value add chasm and to be doing more and become the 1 out of 10 that truly is helping their clients with more future focused services. I sometimes joke that it's lucky that those statistics don't apply to pilots and surgeons in terms of their success rate in intentions, or there'd be a lot of carnage on the surgeon's table and on the tarmac. So what's the difference then? If you think about it, 9 out of 10 want to do it, 1 out of 10 is achieving it. So what's the difference between the 1 out of 10 that's achieving it and the 8 out of the 9 that don't? And it's pretty simple. It's their ability to communicate value. Full stop. Let's assume that technically most advisors and accountants are, and I know many of you would argue this, but let's assume, particularly as the market perceives it, that you're all fairly similar in competency. Difficult for people to judge. So the 1 out of 10 is just great at communicating value. And your ability to communicate value is essentially the footbridge across the chasm. And blogging is a beautiful, beautiful way of achieving that. It's a pillar in modern marketing, and we'll look at today why that is. But first, let's get an idea of who's who in the room today, and let's do a poll. This will be the first of a few polls today. The question is, do you currently publish blog posts? Gosh, some of you are quick. So let's answer whether no, you never have, yes, but only a few times, and boy, oh boy, do we see that a lot, where people have this bright, shiny new website, pay a lot of money for it, and 3 months, 6 months, 9 months down the track, the only blog posts that are there are the initial, hey, welcome to our new blog. Are we excited? We'll be sharing this and that. And then nothing's happened. Very common. So the options, no, never have, yes, but only a few times, yes, but sporadically, yes, but around, yes, and around 1 per month. So 1 article published a month, yes, and around 2 a month, or yes, we publish 3 or more posts each month. And let's see how many of you have voted. Most of you have voted. Thank you for your participation there. I'll click End Poll and I'll share those results with everyone now. So interestingly, 30% of you never have, and 26% of you have only done it a few times. So what's that? 56% of you haven't done it much. If we add the 11 to it, we're up around 2/3 of you aren't blogging much at all. So it's great that you've joined us today, because we'll show you like the how-to aspects are almost, they're easy. We can teach you those, and we can do aspects of blogging for you. But the most important thing is to understand the strategy, the why, and how to measure whether it's successful or not. Now, 15% of you are doing it twice a month, 7% once a month, and 11% of you 3 or more. So if we add those up at 22, yeah, okay. So 2/3 are not doing it much. The other third of you are actively blogging, which is good. That's a good mix to have. So the next poll that flows straight on from that is, what do you want to actually achieve through your blogging? And you'll have a different context on this by the end of today's session, but I'll launch that poll, and let's just share with each other, why are you even bothering with either doing, third of you who are doing blogging, and the other 2/3 that are clearly considering doing it. So do you want to generate leads? Do you want to position yourself or your firm as an authority? And you can tick more than one here. Select all that apply to you. Get your name out there. Add value to your clients and prospects. That's one of the things I love about blogging and content-driven marketing with an educational focus. It's just good karma. You know, you are adding value to the universe by blogging in a quality way. Attract potential employees. Not sure. No one's answered that yet. Or other. Okay, so I'll round these numbers out. 80% of you want to generate leads. Let's face it, it's where the rubber hits the road. We are in business. The leader is to position yourself as an authority. So over 85% of you want to position yourself as authorities. And it's really frustrating when you do have expertise and you are a potential authority, and you're essentially, as the old saying goes, it's an old biblical phrase, don't hide your light under a bushel, which sounds weird, but basically don't hide your talents, don't be meek or shy about it. You know, let people know what you can do for them. So it's frustrating if you don't know in the modern world of marketing how to get your expertise out there. Others want to add value to your clients, attract potential employees. 21% of you have mentioned that, and get your name out there. Now, blogging, as you'll find today, achieves all of those things. We'll do the third poll a bit later on. Now, today I'll share some slides that we used in our recent masterclass. We did a full 2 days on blogging for business in Sydney a few months ago. But let's look at the why frame of why it's crucial for blogging. It definitely grows your online presence. And the main aim here is to generate targeted traffic to your website. So targeted traffic is essentially people who are ideally profiled to become your clients. And also, of course, your existing clients will go there as well. So there's a term in search engine optimization, you might want to write this one down, called organic traffic. Nothing to do with health food. It's just people, it's a techie term for people that have searched on something. They haven't entered your web address, your domain, even your brand name. They've searched on something and they've found you. So when people are searching on topics, on things that they want to solve in their life, organic traffic are people that are discovering you through that. Now, then the aim of increasing your website traffic is to grow your marketing database. So that's your email database. It's also your social media networks, your social networks. Blogging absolutely, when done well with an SEO focus, boosts your Google rankings and other search engines as well. And especially when it's done in an SEO savvy way. And search engine optimization, we are unable in today's session to drill into this in a lot of detail because it deserves its own session. And in fact, we've done webinars just on search engine optimization. But there are some tricks to it that enable you to rank fairly rapidly. We often see within 7 to 14 days, if you're targeting a specific phrase, you can be page 1, even top 3 in Google search results for specific long tail phrases when you blog and you SEO your blog posts. Now the word authority, look at the first, 6 letters of the word authority, and it's author. So one of the easiest way to position yourself as an authority is to write. And blogging is the easiest way to get your content out there. So attracting your ideal types of clients, not just generic clients, not ones that might be price sensitive and just looking for someone to do their tax or lodge their quarterly BAS or do their year end, but ones that want advice. People who want to improve their business or improve their financial situation. Another nice spin-off of positioning yourself as an authority is that it does attract other opportunities, such as media. So when people see you, and by the way, everything that we do and everything that we teach accounting and advisory firms to do, we test on ourselves first. So we walk our talk, we see a social media platform or a new tool, we use it ourselves. Some we go, no, it's not worth it. Others we go, yeah, that's good. And then we teach others how to do it. And so in this area, we walk our talk. I've just come back from New Orleans, as I used to call it, but I now call it New Orleans, in the States, and spoke to 450 accountants about the latest trends in marketing for accounting and CPA firms. And that all came out of my blogging and social media. So I know of some of you in today's session that now have regular newspaper columns, regularly get interviewed on the radio, and are often invited to speak at conferences to do with business or different industry sectors because you have positioned yourself as an authority. Now, one of the key traits or indicators that you are an authority is when you get paid to do your marketing. So let's achieve that. Now, evergreen is a marketing term that means a piece of content that will be just as relevant today as it will be in a month, 6 months, a year, maybe even in a couple of years. In other words, it doesn't date quickly. It's not about the federal budget that was done recently, whereas that's not very topical, is it, in a few months or 6 months' time. So the nice thing about evergreen content, so let's say a blog post about a timeless principle about managing a business better, let's say managing cash flow or protecting assets, or just managing your own personal finances perhaps, that works for you like an unpaid salesman or salesperson. 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, because it's up on the web. Anytime someone searches for it, they can find it. And the content in a blog post is far more valuable than if you only put it in an email newsletter. You still will put it in an email newsletter, but emails are a bit like today's newspaper, if you still get the newspaper. Here today, gone tomorrow. Valuable today, wrapping the rubbish or fish and chips the next day. So emails are very fleeting. Blogs work day in, day out for you. It's a beautiful thing when you've got that pumping for your business. Now, on the flip side, if you are not consistently blogging and publishing educational, influential content, you really haven't showed up. You're really not doing marketing, particularly as an advisory firm. In your type of firm, as an accounting and related advisory firm, whether you also do financial planning and bookkeeping, business advisory, people don't find you in Google when they search your area of expertise. You don't exist. As they say, you are who Google says you are. And I love the quote by Woody Allen, 80% of life is just showing up. So if you're not consistently blogging, which is 2/3 of you at this point in time, you haven't shown up yet. You'll effectively be an undercover operation to your competitors who are appearing on page 1 and preferably in the top 3 on page 1 of Google. So your website traffic's going to be a lot lower. Why spend? We see firms spend somewhere between $2, $3, $4, $5 through to about $15, sometimes $20,000 on their website. And they think when the website goes live that it's job finished. really that's just walking up to the starting line. That is the start of where your most valuable content will start being published. So consistent publishing is crucial because that's what will generate your website traffic. You're going to have a much smaller marketing database. Your marketing database should at least be 20 times the size of your client base. So 20 times as many people and organizations on your marketing database than just people you're actually engaged in supporting at the moment. And you won't be much of an authority, and you won't be educating and helping people as much either. And back to the lead generation, you'll be missing out on a lot of inbound leads. Now, write down, if you're not familiar with the term inbound marketing, that's the only style of marketing we teach. To us, outbound marketing is old school marketing. Outbound marketing is where you pick up the phone and call people, or you go to that networking breakfast, or you pound the pavement, you knock on doors. You pitch yourself to others hoping to get them. Now, there can still be a place for that, but I know myself as a businessman, if you've got a choice of having inbound leads where people are lining up and knocking on your door and they already understand what you stand for, what your values, your vision, your style of business, your pricing sort of models, how you structure things, versus going out and dealing with cold prospects. I know which one I'd take every day, and I'm sure you'd be the same. Just a quick distinction between web pages versus blog posts. So web pages, your about page, your services page, team page, they're all important. And some of those are really important from an SEO perspective as well. Things like your about page. So we're not saying to not have your typical structure of a good website, but blog posts are where 80% and more of your content will be over time. Because web pages are what's known as static content. They don't change very often. You might revise them from time to time, but they are very much a one-way monologue. They tend to be more formal. They don't have to be, and they're often product or service focused. Here we are, here's what we do, here's how we help, and please buy. So really, that's brochureware. So it's like an online electronic brochure, and every business has a website, but not every business has a blog, because blog posts are updated frequently. It's really easy to publish things to a blog. That's why they call it push button publishing, is one term to use it. And it's really been a catalytic thing in the evolution of society and the flattening of the earth, is the ability for people to publish their views and opinions. Blog posts tend to be more of a two-way dialogue because you can encourage people to ask questions through comments and so on, and also through social media. So it's more of a dialogue in two ways rather than the monologue. Can tend to be more informal, more conversational because of that. And you need to have a focus of just being more education focused. So it's educational, not promotional. We'll talk some more about that. And more of an editorial tone than an advertising or advertorial tone. Everyone, no one likes to be sold to, but everyone likes to buy. So if people are reading your blog posts and they're feeling like they're reading veiled advertising, so it's like an advertorial effect where you're really just promoting yourself, it won't influence them. They'll feel like, okay, they probably won't even read the posts. But if they're being engaged and they're connecting with the issues that you're teaching them about, educating them about, it will have an editorial tone like a newspaper, magazine, article, or a book chapter. And not every business has a blog. We were ridiculed. Actually, some of you who are in the session today were at a presentation I did at David Smith's event that he runs each year, the Accountants Technology Showcase. I spoke at that years ago. I think at the very first one, about all the different cloud-based marketing apps that you should be using. And people came up to me afterwards, including vendors of website platforms for accounting firms, and they said, MC, you are off your tree. Why on earth? They're absolutely ridiculing me, saying, why would an accounting firm need a blog? That's ridiculous. They could just go off to blogger.com and have a blog there if they want a blog. They didn't get it. They still don't get it. That same platform, we support a lot of accounting and advisory firms internationally with their blogging, and I'll share with you later today how we do that. And some of these platforms that are extremely popular, that many of you might even use, firms businesses that have three-letter acronyms, I won't name them, you cannot even SEO the blog post. You cannot specify what the title should appear like in Google. You cannot specify the description as it should appear in the search engine results in Google. That's pathetic. That's old technology. But the accounting profession's changing, and innovative providers, particularly in the cloud-based accounting space, like Xero and that whole app ecosystem, They really raised the bar, and more firms are seeing how important it is to have a very modern presence and be educational in their marketing. So sure, have a website and you're positioned as a supplier, have a great blog and you position yourself instead as a thought leader. And to drill into that, a thought leader is simply one whose views are considered influential. You're the go-to person. You lead your field. You're an expert that people seek advice from. And I don't know, to put it in other terms, you're a guru in your niche. Keep in mind, you can't be a guru generalist. I joke that there's never been a hall of fame built to generalists. It's a recipe to get lost in the crowd. It's a recipe for mediocrity. How can you be great at lots and lots of different things? You really cannot. So we won't talk about niching and focus strategy today, but that's one of the key things that we teach in our Modern Marketing Academy. I mentioned this earlier, but just in your brain, scrub out the whole concept of marketing, because you can tend to get overwhelmed. And people over the years have tended to overcomplicate what marketing is. Marketing equals education. So if you just think, who do I need to educate and what do I need to teach them, then that simplifies. But great content, it really does educate, but it does more than that. You need to not just educate your readers, but great content motivates action. I almost said the word inspires, but I'm a bit over that word. Everyone's talking about inspire. It's a great word, don't get me wrong. But great content motivates action. You want someone to read that blog post that you've just done on why they need to move their accounting and related, back office to cloud-based systems, or why they need, a rolling forecast on their cash flow, or why they need to do their budgets each year, why they need a real-time dashboard, or need to do tax planning, or should have better financial plans in place, whatever the topic might be. If they don't take action, well, you're not generating leads and they're not improving their life. So I want to share with you a psychological principle of how you motivate people to take action. There's a term in psychology called cognitive dissonance. And cognitive dissonance is simply the state of having inconsistent thoughts, beliefs, or attitudes, especially as relating to behavioral decisions and attitude change. Let's put that another way. When people are not doing what they know they could or should, or they're not walking their talk. So how that applies to blogging is if someone, before they've read a blog post of yours, they are blissfully ignorant. In neurolinguistic programming, another area of psychology, they call that unconscious incompetence, where they don't know that they don't know something. Blissful ignorance. So before they read your post, that's where they are. Then they get to the end of it and they go, right. So I shouldn't be managing my cash flow just by looking at my daily bank account balances. Right. Yeah, I now get why that's utterly flawed. And they might even get to a point of feeling a bit embarrassed about the fact that that's the way they've been running their business. So once they've adjusted that belief system of, right, okay, I need to be forecasting and predicting my cash flow, my inflows and outflows based on data that's available, and that certain apps can do cash flow forecasts so easily these days. You've got to love that as a business advisor. Then if they don't take action, they are experiencing cognitive dissonance. And that is crucial. If you don't create cognitive dissonance, you won't motivate anyone to action. So you want to educate your clients and your prospective clients about the principles and strategies they need to implement. And we'll come back to this again, but the principles and strategies they need to implement. So if you think, I'm going to sit down and write a blog post about how great my XYZ service is, you'll probably write brochureware. Instead, you need to think, what are the principles I'm going to write about here that we're going to teach? So the strategies, the frameworks, the approaches, so that by the end of it, they can see there's something that they can implement. Now, they might not implement it straight away. They might sit on it for months. I love examples that I hear from time to time of firms that we've taught content-driven marketing and strategy and blogging to, and they'll pick up clients that share with them that they've been following them for months, 5 months, 9 months and longer before they actually took their, changing accountants is kind of like breaking up with someone in a relationship. It's not something that someone does quickly for lots of reasons. So people will watch you from afar. So they'll look at your digital presence And then when the timing's right, I don't know, let's say they've got the house in order and they're up to date with everything with their past accountant, they might then go, okay, now it's time to go to someone who's going to take me to the next level, and they meet with you. So, really, it's like priming a pump. If you start blogging this month, you're not going to see results next month straight away. We're always asked when people are signing up for our blog article service, how quickly can I see results? How quickly can I see results? Fair question. But what we say is, look at an arc of 12 months and beyond. But, in 3 to 6 months, you'll be starting to see results. And on screen here are some screenshots from graphs that we've taken from the marketing metrics dashboards that we've built for different firms. Out of respect for their privacy, we're not telling you who they are, though one-on-one we'd be happy to share lots of examples. I've got more examples later in the webinar today. But if you have a look, these are visits from organic trend. So I mentioned that earlier, organic trend, people who've just discovered the business. So I like to use the analogy of a retail store. Imagine your website's like a retail store. And I don't know if you've ever walked into a retail store and kind of looked around and thought, no, it's not grabbing me, and walked straight out. Whereas other retail stores will make you want to browse, make you want to discover and explore. And there's a science to that alone. So that's what a good website does. But what we're talking about here is getting more walk-ins, more people actually walking in to your store, in this case, visiting your site. So these are examples of firms that we've been doing the blogging for in the last few months. And you can see the trend there. It is just so consistent that when you're consistently blogging good quality content, that Google picks up on that. Their search and ranking algorithm has as one of its attributes recency, which is why static web pages that haven't been updated in many months or sometimes even years, there's a good reason why you're buried on page 6 of Google. So these are empirical results. All those screenshots were taken this morning. So how do you measure your blogging effectiveness? If you're going to do something in business, let's be hard-nosed about it. You want to see that it's working. So bottom line, Google rankings and website traffic. Now, Google rankings are for specific phrases, which comes back to strategy. And one of the biggest mistakes we see, we've got a website audit tool. You can have a free audit done of your website on our website. And you need to enter your web address. You can enter the web address of a competitor if you want. You don't have to. And you have to enter a phrase. So it's an SEO target phrase. And 9 times out of 10, we get notified whenever anyone does one of these. It pops up in one of our channels in Slack. And we say to each other, oh, there goes another one who needs to be educated, because people will often enter their own brand name or their own web address. Or I saw one come through the other day, strategy. So imagine you're an accounting firm and you're wanting to get more people to visit your website, and you think, yeah, I want to rank well for strategy. I don't think anyone, let's say business owners, waking up and going, yeah, I need some help. Search strategy. It's not going to happen. They'll search, such and such strategies for such and such. So specific search on specific area, and that's where you need to have your keywords actually documented that you are going to target. And in our SEO implementation service that's smashing it at the moment, achieving some really great traction for subscribers to that, we list out many different phrases that you want to rank well for. But Google rankings and then ultimately website traffic. So if those things are not improving, something's going wrong. Now, think right now, and in fact, type it through in the chat area. What's a value-added service that you provide that you're really good at providing it, but you're not succeeding at the moment on the marketing side or the selling side? So marketing, generating demand, selling, actually converting the inquiries to paid engagements. Think of that service. What are the principles the service is based on? So I don't know, imagine you are a lecturer at university and you're teaching some undergrads why this management accounting topic or this financial planning topic or this principle within bookkeeping, not just teaching them what to do, but why it's important. So they're the principles that the service is based on. And then in your article, people are generally motivated either by gaining things or avoiding pain. We all are. So in an article, you can emphasize one or the other or cover both. So what are the gains of implementing and what are the pains? What pain will they experience by not implementing? And in the space that you're in around financial management, business growth, compliance, there's a lot of pains if people don't implement, aren't there? But you cannot assume that people know that. It's the curse of knowledge. It's an actual term for anyone who's got knowledge in a domain to assume and to fail to mention things when they're explaining, whether that's writing or in person. So you always got to bring it back to basics and explain the principles underpinning your services. And that gives you a really good start to become a great blogger. The cognitive dissonance point that I made earlier is the key reason that's crucial is that none of us buys when we're comfortable. What we do is we buy when we're uncomfortable. So you want to get people outside their comfort zone. So before anyone purchases advisory services, they've got to see that gap in their lives between where they are now and where they could be, and the fact that your service is the footbridge. In the same way we talked about before with the value add chasm, where one out of those 9 crossing it, and their ability to communicate is a little footbridge. Your value added services are footbridges between where someone is now and where they could be. So your blog posts make them realize where they could be, and your services are the footbridge. And until people see the other side by your education, there's no demand for footbridges. They're quite happy where they are. They'll be happily doing things the way they've always been doing them in their business, and you'll just keep doing compliance for them and compete in those bloodied waters of competition rather than getting out into some nice blue ocean and more profitable advisory work. Another tip around blogging is, and these are some slides I'm sharing with you out of the recent masterclass, you got to find a non-obvious angle. As kids might say to you, if you're a parent from time to time, tell me something I don't know. Now, my kids aren't that disrespectful, but none of us likes to be told something we already know. So you need to find a non-obvious angle. The last thing someone wants to be told is just super obvious things about how they need to be managing their business or any aspect, even health and nutrition. Everyone knows they should exercise more and eat more healthily, but what are the non-obvious angles? You want people to think, what the? Huh? How could that be? And that's part of the art and the skill of getting people to read your blog post in the first place, is to have an angle that surprises people and intrigues them. And that all starts with a great headline. Now, drilling beyond the headline, let's look overall at the anatomy of a great blog post. You've got to have a great topic for starters. So it's got to be specific. Don't be afraid at all of writing a topic that you know will only appeal to 10% of your clients. That's better than writing one that is so broad and you're trying to appeal to everyone that no one takes any notice of it. So it's got to be very relevant to a specific target audience and ideally timely to them as well, based on maybe the time of year. And do find that non-obvious or contrarian angle. And that might take a bit of brainstorming and creativity, or you might need help from creative copywriters, such as our team here at Paradox on that. Now, the headline in advertising, they call the headline the ad for the ad. If an ad doesn't have a great headline, it doesn't matter if the rest of the ad is great. No one is likely to read it. And same with a blog post. So the headline is crucial. In our Modern Marketing Academy, we have some exercises to run through to make sure that your headline has what are called flagging words that for your target audience, they get their attention, has benefits or at least implied benefits in there, and also some intrigue, because the purpose of the headline is to sell them on reading on after you get their attention. So they get their attention, it intrigues them. And a good headline, if it's done in a search engine optimized way, it will help your Google rankings as well. You also need a striking supporting image. Try to avoid the really typical stock images. Most people these days can spot a stock image a mile away, and please do us all a favor and avoid using those ones where there's a group of 4 or 5 multiracial people, all from different parts of the world, ethnic backgrounds, and they're pointing at a laptop in a cafe or something like that. Lose those ones. iStockPhoto.com are full of those sorts of ones. There's also good ones in there, but there's some great sites now like Unsplash.com that have some really edgy images, but it can take time to find those. Clearly, it's got to be well written. So some tips around that. Forget about what your university lecturers and your high school English teachers told you about all of these stiff old rules of grammar. Write the way you speak. So it needs, when someone's reading it, it's got to sound like you're speaking with them. And nothing different to that. So if you speak fairly formally, well, write in that same style, but it's got to reflect your conversational style. And write as if you're speaking to one person. So not a group of people. Avoid plural pronouns where you're describing a group of people. So it's you, not all of you or some of you when you're writing. And in the blogging masterclass, we talked about buyer personas. Sometimes today, some people call them avatars. They're an imaginary person that has the traits of one of your target markets. It was brilliant to see what some of the firms have come up with in that space. Consolidate, wow. Brisbane-based firm that operates nationally has identified and even had their graphic designers design like infographics to describe and name their different buyer personas. It was brilliant. And then when they write an article, they know which target audience they're writing the blog post for. It's very easy to go through a blog post and count how many times you mention the reader, as in you and your, versus us and we. Be very careful. Most people tend to wheel over themselves. Bad word image, I know, but you'll remember it now. Don't talk about yourself. You can't be like that bore at the party that just talks about themselves the whole time. You need to talk about things through the eyes of your reader. So have that editorial tone, not the advertorial tone. Write in benefits, not features. So benefits are what will it achieve in their life, not what is it. They expect you to look after the details. Needs to be well formatted. Common mistakes we see on websites are the headlines. The way the style are done on the website, the headlines are too small. And sometimes the body copy is too small as well. So have a look at that. The headline should be big. Should also be mobile responsive, should look good on the mobile, but it's got to be well formatted. Here's a tip. I saw on QI the other evening that if something rhymes, there's a psychological disposition for people to think it's more true. So also you're inclined to remember it. So here's one for you. If you only have a blog about your core services, you will forever be considered a bore. So if you're an accountant and all you write about here's a tax deduction here, and here's the latest tax ruling here, and here's the latest out of the recent budget, that stuff's important. You can cover that. But if that's all you write about, boy, oh boy, there's a million other places your clients can get that sort of information. And they pretty much expect you to look after that stuff. They expect you in handling their affairs to make sure they don't miss out on things. So avoid the technical dry content. Don't try to teach them tax. That's what they're paying you for. Don't try to teach them bookkeeping unless that's a service area that you do. And don't try to teach them things that they just want you to handle. They're paying you to look after certain things. You want to teach them how to improve their future, not just get their paperwork in order. Another mistake where we see overly technical articles is where people are clearly writing for their peers. So they're writing to impress fellow accountants and advisors rather than just relating to their target market. So you're not out to impress anyone with your technical knowledge. Avoid that. So write for those personas that I briefly mentioned earlier, not peers. And that essentially is a very specific target market. Because if you write for your peers, it's likely to be above the heads of your target market. It'd be a fairly safe bet of that. Okay, now, if you're not going to write about your core, you might be thinking, well, MC, what do we write about? Well, you write around topics that are around the periphery of your core. So you want to lead your readers to a better place in their business life, financial life. So you want to teach them and inspire and excite them, but without sounding inauthentic. It's still got to sound like you. So you need to write about things that excite you. Things that really light your fire. So to put a little visual to it, here's the core of what you do. Here's areas that are related to what you do. So a recent example of that I recall is after someone had sent us an incredibly dry and boring article to polish up, that was very compliance based. We said, look, we're not going to polish this because no one's going to read it. What are you excited about at the moment? And the gentleman who's a partner in a 2-partner firm, he mentioned 2 things, and one of them was a particular app that enables people to have transparency across all of their investments when you connect them to your self-managed super and your accounting, etc. And I said, there you go, write about that. So it's clearly related to what they do as a firm, but other things that they care about as well, you can write about. That same firm was really excited about some of the charity-related things they were doing, so they also were writing about that, and that gets far greater engagement when you write about those things, because people get to understand you, your values, what it is you stand for, type of person that you are. And it is true that people buy from people. It's important to build a brand for your business, but at the end of the day, most small and medium-sized businesses are really selling their own personal brands as well as their business brands. Okay, third and final poll for today. Let's see, what are some of the challenges you experience with blogging? So there you go. Number 1, finding the time to write the article. 70% of you cited that. Next biggest issue was knowing which topics to write about. Fair enough. It is difficult to break out of that tendency to want to write about your technical core because that's clearly what you think about day in, day out until you break some of those habits. Having the skills to write good articles, it might be one thing to have time and to know what to write about, but can you write about it? Overall strategy and SEO. Getting people to read. So pretty even spread, other than that first one is finding the time. So I'm going to share with you some ways that you can address that and ways that we can help you with that as well. So getting people to read your blog posts. I did love that movie, that phrase, what was it called? Field of Dreams, the Kevin Costner baseball movie. I've never played baseball, but I seem to be a sucker for baseball movies. And you know that line out of it where he kept hearing from the ghost, build it and they will come, where he built that baseball field in his cornfield. But sadly, that's not the case. With most things in life, build it and they will come. So with a blog post, you need to promote it. So you can't just put it up there and think, job done. In the same way that, website's live, job done. Well, no, let's promote the blog post. So whenever you do a blog post, depending how frequently you're doing them, if you're only doing one a month, well, then you can do an email out promoting that one. Or if you're doing 2, 3, 4 a month, you could do one email that kind of summarizes them and links off to them. We tend to recommend having the headline, the image, and the intro, or kind of an excerpt of what the article's about, and a link through to the full article. That way you can track what's called the click-through rate in the email tool that you're using, such as MailChimp or Campaign Monitor or whatever it is you might be using in that space. So you need to promote them with email. You need to promote them via social media. But here's an interesting statistic. I think it's interesting. I hope you will too. When you first promote a blog post in social media, let's say you do an update in LinkedIn saying, hey, new blog post, headline link, or you do it out in Twitter, Facebook page, wherever. If you do that just once, the reach of the people that you're connected to in social media, HubSpot has calculated that that's about 14%. So 14%. So 86% of your social connections, there's a very good chance they won't see those social messages. So it makes sense then to continue to promote evergreen posts at recurring intervals in social media. And there are tools to do that. We have a tool called Paradox Social that it's brand new. We give you access to that as part of our social media update service. And it's got a really cool feature. Some apps do nothing but this feature, but it's just one feature where you can load a social media promotion to go into LinkedIn or Twitter or whatever it might be. And you can say, repeat that one every 7 weeks. And without you having to lift a finger again, it will do it again in 7 weeks' time and then another 7. And you can say, but stop doing it after a year or never stop doing it. So it depends on the nature of the post. So email, social media at launch, and social media ongoing. And also promote your blog and your recent blog posts in email signatures. If you're not using a tool like there's WiseStamp is one tool where you can manage all of your email signatures across your business from the one little console. So with one step, you can change everyone's email signatures. All they need to do is like refresh their Gmail or their Office 365, and you can promote the latest blog post in everyone's email signature. A lot of people will see that. Now, planning your content. You need to have a content plan or editorial calendar. Don't get scared off by that. It's just a list. It can be just a spreadsheet, a Google sheet or something like that. List out which topics you're going to write about. Do you have to have a whole year's worth mapped out? No, but 1 or 2 is a good start. When are you going to publish these things? Because, certain things, for example, at the moment, tax planning related topics this time of year are quite good. And who's going to write the topics? If you're a firm with a number of people who could write, share it around. You might only need to write an article once a quarter, but plan out in your content plan who's going to write it and what's the objective of the article. The objective isn't always a commercial call to action, but it might be to get them to download something, might be to get them to attend an event, but sometimes it might be just to achieve a certain specific cognitive dissonance, get them to think about a certain thing in their business or financial life. Think ahead. What is the SEO phrase? So 3, 4, 5 words that if you could wave your magic wand, that this blog post will rank really well for in Google, because that then affects words you'll use in the headline, how you describe the images, the subheadings, things that you bold or emphasize. Image ideas, just in words, image ideas, any metaphors that you might think of that would be a cool image to support it. But then who's going to edit and polish it? You always need someone separate to the author to do that edit and polish. You do need a separate workflow. And lastly, who's going to publish it? Who's going to load it up? Now, if you're a one-person startup, the good and the bad news is you've got clarity on that, and the bad news is it's you, but that's fine. But as you grow, you're going to want to delegate different aspects of that. But the thing is, it takes time. Now, we've surveyed a lot of practitioners on how long does it take you, and if you're working with another team member or two, how long does it take you to actually do a blog post? So if you think through these things from the top of the page, the planning aspect, thinking of an article topic, writing, so first draft, polishing it, because generally you need to sleep on it and come back and revisit it. Often there's opportunities to edit it down and make it stronger as a result. Then you need to think through a good headline. It's crucial that it has a good headline, as I covered earlier. Spend time on that. Then searching for a good image that will support the whole message of the blog post. Graphics. If your blog post column is, say, 600 pixels wide, marketing coordinators among you will know what I mean there. Your blog post image should probably be the same full width. Depends on the design. So you might download something from unsplash.com and it might be this big. You need it this big. Sometimes too, you can put words over the top. There's a little bit of work done there. Publishing, loading it to the blog post in your website's content management system or CMS takes time. You might think that only takes 5 minutes. We know from a lot of experience that it often takes longer because there's looking at drafts, looking at previews, tweaking things. Then there's the promoting that we just mentioned. Promoting the blog post in social media and also email broadcast. Now, if you add those up, you might argue the point on any of those, but some might be more, some might be less. We've had some people say, it takes me 2 days, but half a day is pretty much the average that we hear from people. Now, whose opportunity cost is that? If you're a principal or a partner in a firm, I put in a very conservative hourly rate there. Many of you will have hundreds of dollars more per hourly rate that you charge than $250. But at 2 hours, at $250, that's $500 opportunity cost that could be productive billable time. Not that you sell time, but productive time leading to billing. And let's say that half of that could have been done by a support team member who assists in the marketing side of the business. And let's say their hourly rate is $50, depending whether you're regional or city, that'll vary, but let's say it's $50, there's $100. There's $600 of total opportunity cost per article. So 1 article a month, $600, 2 articles a month, $1,200. And I know I'm talking to accountants here, and it's the economists and financiers who are more into opportunity cost, but to me, when you're in business, opportunity cost is a very real cost, and it's something that you can't ignore. You need to take that into account pragmatically. So with our blog article service, Think through if all of that could just be done for you, by someone who'll write, most likely, better articles than you're likely to create yourself, and someone who'll handle all of the loading, all of the promoting and the publishing for you without you having to lift a finger other than select which article you want. So I'll give you some examples of firms that are using our blog article service. I've blurred out details on these screenshots to protect the innocent. But here's one here, and the topic, I'll just read out the topics as we go. Why modern business means cloud-based business. So educational article that talks not just about the accounting aspects, but the whole benefits of being cloud-based around added security, less risk, more efficiency. And so that's something that we wrote and that we published and promoted for them. Another one here, chameleon contractors, when a contractor becomes an employee and a liability. Next, business success insight, why your business needs a real-time dashboard. So these are all about the principles that underpin things that the firms that are accounting, business advisory focused can then help the reader implement. 3 reasons personal budgeting is brilliant, not boring. So firms that help clients around personal budgeting, like those sorts of topics. So with the blog article service, we think of the article topics, and like a good DJ, we take requests as well. We love requests actually of the articles you would like added to the library. We write the articles, and we've got industry specialist copywriters. For each article, we include 3 different headlines that can be chosen. We create 5 different images per article that you can choose one from, but we'll actually load it for you to your website, and we'll promote the blog post for you in social media. So you'll get a better article, and all you've had to do is basically go, I'll have that article. And if you ever pick an article, you can always see a preview of the article before you choose it. But we guarantee that every article you'll be wrapped with, and if not, you can pick another one. There's many articles in the library. So that saves you time. In terms of the value proposition, we're talking about the benefits of blogging today, and those benefits are there. But we price what we do so that it's, as they call these days, a no-brainer. We want it to be a clear value proposition just on the time saving, and the fact that it's better quality, more engaging, more influential than what potentially you could write yourself is a bonus. Now, people that subscribe to this service often also do their own blog posts as well in the mix, and that makes them publishing a lot more often, but greatly reduces the amount of time and labor. To give you a heads up on the pricing on the blog article service, you can do 1, 2, 3, or 4 a month. Most firms do 1 or 2 a month. So 1 article a month in Aussie dollars, excluding GST, is $450 a month. So that's compared to $600 opportunity cost in that scenario earlier. 2 articles a month is $750 a month for the 2 articles. So what we'd like to do at the moment, in the lead up to the end of financial year, and with the growing of our team, we've got some available capacity, but this offer requires work on our end. So we are limiting it to only 12 firms. So for those of you who are in this webinar and listening to me now, when you email grow@practiceparadox.com.au, we'll send you a link that will give you a sign up for the article service, where you'll be able to sign up for 2 articles per month. So that's the $750 service for $450 a month. But I do reiterate, that is only for 12 firms, and we have to stop it after that. So that email is grow@practiceparadox.com.au. And being that time of year, we do get asked, can we pay in advance, and is there any discount for that? You probably noticed when you go to a lot of software as a service websites, very common option is you can pay monthly and it's X, or you can pay annually in advance, and instead of paying for 12 months, you only pay for 10 months. Well, we offer the same thing. So to recap that offer, you can sign up for the $450 a month 1 article service, but you'll get 2 articles for that. So you pay $450 a month instead of $750. So that saves $300 a month. So that's $3,600. I know you can do the maths, but we'll just step through it. But the additional savings, if you did choose to pay annually in advance with the end of financial year approaching, that means you only pay for those 10 months, but you get 12 months worth of articles, so 24 articles, and that's 4,500 Australian dollars. plus GST up front. If you're in another country, clearly you don't pay our GST. So it's 4.5 Australian pesos if you're in the US. So that's the offer for today on that. Let's now go to questions. Let's hear. I'm just looking through chat and I'll look through Q&A. Greg Tuckwell of Zero Books and Pool Group, you commented earlier that you love marketing automation. And Greg's example, I shared an example of Greg's in a recent webinar where Greg picked up a client that was, the inquiry came from a CFO of an aviation company that had offices in about 4 or so different countries. And they wanted to outsource their internal book, financial control and payroll. And we do the blogging for Zero Books and assist Pool Group as well in a number of areas. And yeah, you're pretty happy with that one, I recall, Greg. Okay, Travis has asked, is it possible to get a copy of today's webinar? Yes, it is. We will put a copy of this onto our YouTube channel. So it's youtube.com/practiceparadox. When you go to our YouTube channel, click the little subscribe button, the red and white button, and that means you'll get notified when new videos are uploaded. So that's a yes. Actually, I can see Tiffany answered that earlier. There we go. And will slides be available? David's asked. We can make the slides available, yes. So that was on chat. Let's have a look on Q&A. Sandeep asked an excellent question. SEO will be affected if other accountants are using the same article prepared by you. There's a concept called duplicate content in SEO. And what that means is if the same article appeared in many different places all over the web, that would be a bad thing. So what we do when we load articles for you is we put a no index tag around it, meaning that you won't be penalized for duplicate content if someone has the same article. That's one of the reasons, by the way, we also include 3 different headlines per standard article. But we do have a service where we can do custom articles for you. Costs a little extra because it's extra work for us to write custom articles. But that's the way that we avoid any penalties around the duplicate content. But that's why it's also so important to do the social media promotion and the email newsletter promotion of your blog posts with those. Okay, Sandeep also asked, which types of blogs are more interesting for prospects? Accounting, tax, SMSF, compliance? In general, no, unless you've got a non-obvious angle on it and you can write it in lay terms that would pique their interest. Cash flow and forecasting? Yes, if you can talk about the pain they'll avoid and the gains they'll achieve. General business, how to hire talent and not just staff, SEO marketing. Yes to that. Inspire CA, who are doing great guns. I'm loving watching what they're doing with their marketing. They've been through our Modern Marketing Academy. We taught them their whole approach to content marketing. And they've written articles, a whole bunch of articles that have nothing to do with compliance, about sorts of clients you don't want in your business, things relating to HR, technology. And they'll often publish things around marketing, SEO, website stuff, and they get their clients to do guest posts. Works well. I know GrowthWise will often do case studies about their own clients in their Facebook page. They also use Instagram really well, but with a different strategy. Elizabeth asks, in relation to niching, what is your opinion on having one website? So your Blue Emerald for bookkeeping and Xero setup, and a second website for you personally, elizabethsalter.com, for training courses, ebooks, etc. Do you think it's better to have them combined or to have them separate? Currently they're separate. Okay. In life, there's often it depends answers, and I'll give you it depends. If you publish consistently to both blogs, it's good to have them separately. You can have your business brand with very specific SEO focus, and that also allows you to build up a digital asset that can appear on your balance sheet and will increase the value of your business when it comes time to sell. So it's good to have a separate business one. But these days, there's an excellent platform. While we love WordPress, we think it's great. Medium.com is a brilliant platform for personal blogging. And so if you're going to do a personal blog, if you've already got it set up on WordPress, that's fine. But Medium is a great way because you get a lot more traffic. A lot more people will discover your personal blog on Medium, or potentially even in LinkedIn.com as long posts. So if you're doing enough publishing, separate's fine. If you're hardly ever publishing, to each, I'd combine them and get traction with one blog. And then Sandeep says, thank you so much for helping us. Absolute pleasure. Thanks so much for joining us today. Hopefully you've learned why you should blog, some of the mistakes around blogging, and how that opportunity cost of 4 hours per article can be alleviated by leaning on specialist providers like us at Paradox, and we get measurable results for you. So if you want to be one of those 12 firms to take advantage of that offer, email grow@practiceparadox.com.au. Then what will happen is we'll get in touch with you, one of our account managers get in touch with you, have a chat, answer the questions, and then send you a link that will allow you to get the 2 article a month service for the price of 1 article. Or if you happen to be a firm that wants to pay yearly in advance to help tax payable scenario, we'll send you a different link. So look forward to seeing you for our next public webinar, and we'll run a different topic each month. Next time, it's going to be about how you can be a lot more efficient around your social media publishing, queuing, and getting a real presence around social media. So look forward to seeing you then. Bye for now.